World building. Yeah, it is as complicated as it sounds. Here are 3 things that you should know when you start building your world for your story. Here we go. Hey there everybody, welcome to another episode of the Other Epic Story Vlog. This is the show where I talk about writing and world building tips and tricks and apply it to my own work, which is an epic dystopian fantasy. If you want to learn more about the project, I have a link to it up there. Please check it out. Today we're going to be talking about world building. Yeah.
Hey pal, did you get a load of the nerd? Pardon me?
When we talk about world building, we often think about fantasy or science fiction, but it's relevant in the contemporary world as well. When you build a world, it is often set in specific rules. There's rules you gotta follow. And here are the 3 things I'm gonna talk about that'll help you build out these rules. All right, let's get started. Thing to know, number 1, the environment. The environment. This is the landscape, these are the plants, these are the animals. This is the climate as well. A world is sort of impacted by all these elements working together. So the type of landscape you have will ultimately affect the type of plants that grow there and the type of animals that live there, and really does affect the whole climate of that area of the world. Just think about like a mountain and how one side becomes a desert and the other side gets all the precipitation, gets rainfall, and becomes a flourishing forest. It's a lot like that. So that's one thing to consider when you start world building, is understanding the mechanics of environment. The second thing to think about when you're world building is intelligent life. These are the races, these are the genders of people, these are the cultures and religions and languages. It gets so complicated when you start developing a fictional any of that, because let's be honest, we barely understand our own race, culture, language, gender, religion. There's a lot to figure out that way, and it does leave plenty of room for you to make mistakes. No one really gets hurt when you make up a race and then you have awful things happen to them. No one's really an elf, for example. No one's really an orc. So you could sort of make fun of orcs all you want and no one in real life will really be offended. Then again, it's important to take inspiration from real life and bring it to your stories, and whatever elves represents, whatever orcs represent. Something interesting to think about when you start dealing with languages, race, and culture and all that stuff is, when you talk about it, understand how it is all related to real world events. And that just makes what you create that much more immersive for your readers. The third thing to be aware of when you're world building is the impending change. This one's more of an abstract concept, but in every world, there's something that is changing in it. So regardless of what type of world you're building, change is inevitable. This can mean climate change, this can mean a war that's about to happen, this can mean a death of a royal family member. Something is triggered and it causes a domino effect, and just a mess of stuff is gonna happen. And that is just life in a world, really. And when you think about an impending change, one that comes to mind is The Stand from Stephen King, and the flu that sort of impacted the entire world, essentially. The flu, Captain's Trip, and it sort of triggered all these events to occur. Of course, that's a pretty epic impending change. A smaller one can be a small town, has a dome placed over it, also Stephen King. So those are the 3 things to think about when you're world building your own story. Now let's talk about my story, because that's why we're all here, to figure out my story. So when I started writing out what my elements were in these 3 world building factors, it became kind of disjointed. The animals and the climate and the history and the culture and the language and even the impending change wasn't all completely clear to me. And so that's why we have this vlog, so I can figure this out with you guys, right? So I'm going to quickly read out my thoughts on these 3 factors within my draft. So here you go. The environment. It's post-apocalyptic. It's desolate. There's abandoned cities in ruins. The climate, it's chilly, it's windy, but it's not particularly cold. Animals is an interesting one because I sort of base my world as one without technology. Technology disappears and humans are crippled by it and have to revert back to almost a Stone Age type of life. So in a way, we can almost imagine animals doing better than they were before. In fact, that their plants and animals are somewhat flourishing. I mentioned some animals in my story, but it would be good to actually give each one more of a backstory, how they evolved over time, and plants as well. Understanding how technology has impacted the animals around us can help me write a better story, help me create these animals in a more realistic way. Alright, second thing to be aware of, the intelligent life. At first when I wrote this, in my mind, all the characters were just generic. I didn't delve too deep into race, I didn't delve too deep into culture, I didn't delve too deep into language or religion. And I think that is such a missed opportunity for me. I pretty much made every character kind of just generic. I gave them a slight accent. That's sort of like a cliche, Britishy, kind of old-timey accent.
To hell with parliamentary procedure. We've got to wrangle up some cattle.
When you listen to the story, they sound somewhat sophisticated, which they shouldn't be because they're not highly educated people. But I do believe I have a religion for these people, at least the people of the town of Jin. And that religion is work. They believe in working hard, toiling, and through doing that, they get their salvation. It's like their way of praying to God is just by working. They believe as long as they keep working, they'll be fine. Third thing, the impending change. This one was a hard one, but I feel like the impending change is the town starting to feel in danger and that there's a gradual shift of intelligence. Year after year, this thief comes and it steals from their town, and year after year, they're getting smarter and smarter about it. So this eventual, we need to change something. We need to be smarter. There's this drive for people to become smarter, become better, and not just accept what has happened generation after generation. There's this inspiration that happens, and that is the impending change that happened, that these people are ready to become better. I hope these 3 tips are helpful for you when you start building your own world or looking back and editing the story for the world you have built. This little exercise has definitely helped me. If you want to watch more videos of me helping myself, perhaps helping you as well, me, helping you, I'll supply some links right there. If this video has served any purpose to you, entertainment, educational, has it inspired you, please hit subscribe, please hit the like button. I will talk to you in the next video. Best of luck in all your endeavors.